Or next week के
Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Welcome to the Game Week 17 pod of the FPL Wire. I'm your host, Zoph, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Late Riser and Pras. Pras is heading out to Miami soon, and he's about to lose wood. So the ladies in the chat, do your thing. How are you, Pras?
Like these pre-prepared one, I need to come back with pre-prepared stuff. I just can't. I'm not going to Miami. I'm going to Florida and in Orlando in a family-friendly Disney World environment. So nothing involving wood at all. But I'm well. How are you?
Doing good. How was your game week?
I think we all did well. We all had close to 60, 65.
It was a strange game week, right? We only had a couple. I think we had a max 3 players returning. LR had a bit more. He had a points off the bench. But I found it so strange. The game week rank this was my third best game week rank of the season. And I had points just from Salah, vice captain, Son and Poro.
I didn't even have Poro and still had big greens. And obviously other people had.
It's so freaky, right? Because we keep talking about the template that we all own the same players. There's no rank gains. Speaking of Son, hello LR.
Yeah, I mean, I've done all the tweeting about that, but that's the point, right? I mean, people kept selling him, and it's almost nice to get a payoff like this in a single game week when 60% of the game doesn't own him. Because rather than him getting one goal, because now everybody's going to get him, flock towards him. So if you're going to get the payoff, it's nice to just get it in a period of 1 week. Happy days, I think, for the pod in general. All three of us are inside the top 500k, hoping we move on from here.
Right. Should we get kicked off?
We have to talk about his McAtee jam, man. Come on, talk about.
I don't think it's jam. It's a good pick. It's a good pick, man. That's what we have the first subs for. Archer also was quite unlucky. In fact, that game, right? I thought Archer also could have had some returns. Go ahead, Ella.
Yeah, I just want to give credit to our boy Pras here because when I was on my wildcard in Game Week 10. And, I was pretty set on a 3-4-3. So I was looking at fifth midfielder options where everybody else was set on a 3-5-2. So I was probably lazily going to go for Nakamba. And Pras actually cited, why don't you go look at McAtee? He's playing for Sheffield, but he's an advanced attacking midfielder. Look into that. Look into that. It made sense. And, paid off. The one game week I needed him to do his thing. He did his thing. And for those that don't know, he did score 9 goals for Burnley last season. So he does have pedigree for goal scorer. Yeah.
Very highly rated at City as well, I remember. Along with him and Palmer, they always talked about that.
Yeah, and I'm with you on Archer as well. He's looking like a really good third striker now. He's just a lot more involved. Sheffield United look a lot more organized than they did. Things are looking good for them.
Yeah, I don't never ask for someone to lose their job, but it's shocking that they hadn't changed their manager already. They should have done it really 3-4 game weeks ago.
It's one of those things you don't know. This new manager effect, how they are in like 10 weeks or something. But yeah, for now, it looks like there's a different.
They couldn't have been worse. That's what I feel the way. That's how that looked like.
Yeah,
cool. Should we get started? Sponsor plugs up first. Ella, that's you.
Right. All the stats, etc., that you see on our podcast are from the Fantasy Football Scout members area. In fact, they've got like a Christmas gift sort of thing that you can gift at 20% off as well. We will post the updated link in the description below. It's something that you can give to somebody during Christmas as well. It's just a second half of the season membership that's available at a 20% discount. So, if you're considering a Christmas gift to any of your fantasy football mates, I think something like this is kind of cool.
We have also partnered with NordVPN. If you're bored of the streaming libraries available in your country, you can expand your selection using NordVPN with the click of a button. There are over 5,000 plus server options available and no content is out of your reach. Privacy is a big deal too for all of us. Nord keeps your data encrypted and your IP address hidden to ensure complete privacy while you're browsing the internet. They've also added a new threat protection feature. You can say goodbye to intrusive website ads and malware. Even if you download an infected file, threat protection kicks in and deletes it before it makes a mess of your computer. If you sign up using our creator code nordvpn.com/FPL Wire, you get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan plus 4 additional months for free. They also offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. Sign up using the link in the description. Let's get cracking, guys. What should we start with? Obviously, Haaland up first.
Small matter of the most expensive player in the game not being fit.
Right. So, Pras, you sent us a flow chart. Let's get a helicopter view of what the situation is with Haaland and the different options we have.
Should Ella, do you want to start with that or the helicopter view in general? Let's do this first.
Let's do this first.
Okay. So, quite simply, what this flowchart is doing is saying when do we think Haaland could be fit and what are the strategies that you can have with that. So the thing on the left that you see is basically that he's fit for this game week. And obviously that's the most sensible one. And then no one is selling him. You could still think about selling him if, let's say, Pep is saying he's not nailed or he's not fully back, but you will probably hold him. So this is the most simple one. I'm not going to talk about this one. The main one is fit for game week 19. So there's 3 options that you can have if we think he'll be back for game week 19. And obviously for those that don't know, he's blanking in game week 18. So if he misses 17, he'll miss 18 and then he'll be back for 19. 3 options. Option number 1, you hold him and you upgrade your third attacker. So you upgrade in my case, Chris Wood, Archer, People's João Pedro. You get some funds and you get him up to a Solanke. So then you have a Solanke, Haaland and a Darwin and a Watkins kind of front line. And you just keep Haaland for 2 weeks. What you will do by doing that is basically you'll save a transfer to get Haaland back in because at some point you will have to get him back in and you use the Salah money and the other AFCON money flowing around to improve the rest of your team. The other option is you sell, and within sell there's 2 options. One, you sell but you keep the funds. So let's say you go down from a Haaland down to a Watkins and then you upgrade your Darwin back to a Haaland in game week 19. Or you can even do it with the Solanke. You just go down to a Solanke, you keep your funds for 2 weeks, and then you get Haaland back when he's fit because you want to get him as soon as possible. The third most interesting option, and this is linked to the final flowchart, is if he is out, and we think it's out for longer than 19, or it's uncertain, it could be beyond 19, you just go shopping. Basically, you sell Haaland, you take a hit, get Trent, get Porro, you can't get Trippier this week, but you distribute his money around. And the way to get him back is basically you ignore him in game week 19, which is basically his game against Everton, because the best captain that week is probably Salah, away to Burnley anyway. So basically going a week without Haaland, and then the way you get Haaland back is you sell Salah because he's home to Newcastle in game week 20. You sell Salah for somebody like a Foden or a Bowen, and you get Haaland back for one of your 3 strikers. So this is basically your 3 main options if you go with the middle part. And then the right part is the simplest one, which is basically if he's out beyond game week 19, you sell, you distribute. And the only difference between the third option in 19 and this one is, I think you should then think about buying Alvarez. Because if you think Haaland is out for a longer period, then Alvarez suddenly becomes a absolutely fantastic pick, not only this week, but then he's away to Everton in 19 and he's home to Sheffield United in game week 20. That's what this is saying. We're going to share the image with everybody after. But what do you guys think? Firstly, where do you think he is in 17, 19 or 20?
There is option number 4 though. Option
What
number
do you
4 is that if you're a value chasing freak and have moved Haaland out for 0.1 million, you're talking about a player like Erling Haaland. He absolutely deserves to be fit, and you deserve to get punished by his hat trick in Game Week 17. I just want to put that out there.
I don't know,
delete
man.
team under the first flowchart, basically?
Yeah. And you need to have a look at yourself in the mirror and know that you're a poor FPL player.
That's harsh, man. I don't like using the punish phrase with regard to LPL. It has very sado tendencies to me attached to the word phrase. Let's say hurt rather than punished.
All right, fair enough. But yeah, news-wise, like every day we're hearing a bit of news. It looks like it's not as bad as we initially thought, and we won't know until game week until Friday, because Pep's press conference is a few hours before the deadline, and we're always going to be on the lookout for potential leaks during that time as well. So, delay your moves, postpone them until as long as possible.
So the problem is, right, I don't think we are going to get clarity from Pep either way. There's no way Pep is going to come out and say he's going to start. Because the news from City is that he is going to be assessed on Thursday. They said he's arriving Thursday and he'll be assessed. So I'm assuming he's away for like therapy or whatsoever. So on Friday, he's going to maybe he says he's going to give us a usual, we will see. Based on that, what do you think we should do?
I mean, we'll see him in training, right? So firstly, it's
assuming
not
we don't
clear.
get any training pictures because it's a Friday deadline. That's a tricky part. Generally, Man City release a training pictures, if I'm not wrong, around 9 to 10 p.m. UK on Friday.
Then we're in the first three squares in this flowchart where you're assuming that he's close. If Pep is saying he's not out, then you're assuming he's close. So you can't sell him and distribute his money around.
The question Zoph is asking Pras is, could be fit for game week 17 or 19. We don't have that information. What do you do then if you don't know that he's definitely fit for 17, but could be?
Because again, he could be touch and go and then not play again till 20. We've seen that happen with Pep last year. He'll say he's like touch and go for 2-3 game weeks, not just one.
I mean, I suppose you could think about selling but keeping the funds. So this week you don't distribute the funds because he could be back. And then you sell and you hold. I mean, for people like you guys, I mean, for you doing him to a Solanke or a Watkins just makes sense because you can do Darwin. If you have the money, you can do Darwin back up to Haaland in 19 if you need. And if he's out longer, you don't do that. You do something else and you spread the money at that point.
Also, like if it's close and it's touch and go, I also think it depends on how good your first sub is. If it's somebody that's playable, then maybe you take the chance. Because it's not like we are hunting for captaincy options. Salah versus United is as clear as they come. So it's not a very strong captaincy thing. If it's touch and go, you're probably going to captain Salah anyway. Then I think it depends on who your first sub.
I think if it's touch and go, I think you sell because it's the 18 blank. You're not going to captain him in 17 anyway, because again, touch and go leaves that doubt he could come off the bench. 18 is a blank. Keep the money and you buy him back in 19.
Do you sell for a hit those off?
Then I think the first sub question comes in, and obviously now the Sheffield United guys are a little bit better than they were a few weeks ago in terms of how you value them. But again, it depends who you'd buy for a hit. See, the thing with Solanke, generally he's a trickler. He's not an explosive guy. He's more of a Saka than Son as an FPL asset. You expect Solanke to take in with your 6s and 8s. But as far as I followed him at Bournemouth over the couple of years, he's not been the 17-point guy. Now we're going to clip this and it's for the Solanke hat trick next week.
I mean, it's Bournemouth, right? They're not going to score 4 goals, 5 goals.
Just while we're talking about Solanke, though, that's changed ever since he's come under.
Yeah, the numbers indicate that it could happen. Very much so.
So I was looking at this great article that Who Scored did when I bought him a couple of weeks ago. And what used to happen is where Solanke was sort of like helping everybody around sort of guy. He used to come drop deep and, make the players around him better. Things have changed where he's pretty much tip of the spear at Bournemouth. So his XG per shot had gone up by 40-50%. XG per game had gone up by 40-50%. He was getting like 0.68, 0.7 XG per 90, which are numbers he's never seen in his career. So that thing had changed when it comes to Solanke. Like if I think about the game a couple of weeks ago against Villa, he should have had, not Villa, the game before last week, he should have had
Newcastle, he could have had even more than 2.
Against, he should have had a hat trick.
The Sheffield United one, I think, is what you're talking about.
And even against United, a brace was easily possible. So he does look like he seems like an explosive guy. I think the needle has shifted in terms of how we need to view Solanke now.
That's fair, but I think I would still sell for a hit. Again, because you don't want that 14 million sitting. You're going to get that guy for a couple of weeks. So I'd still sell for a hit, I think.
But it's not about
Yeah,
the
I think
hit. It's about, do you spread the money or
That
not?
is the point I wanted to come to as well. Now, who do you spread the money to? Most of them are, assuming you don't have your son, Salah, Saka, obviously, you can go there. But other than that, you have to put your money in defense, right?
Yeah, you have to. I mean, that would be the first thing. But money in defense, I mean, people don't have Trent. People don't have, Trippier from next week. For example, people with Livramento, I can upgrade Livramento to Trippier next week after he plays Fulham. So there are options to spread the money, because I think one thing I missed saying, and I thought it was obvious, after game week 21, Salah is not there anymore. He's going to AFCON. Son is not there anymore. So you need that money at some point spread anyway. You're just doing it 2 weeks earlier because you were going to spend it in game week 21.
But there's also a case of spreading money just for spreading money, because I feel like the time to get Trent is a great asset, but it's not a good entry point. You've got
Correct.
United, Arsenal, and Newcastle at home in the next 4 weeks. I don't see many clean sheets there for Liverpool. I mean, they barely deserve to get 3 points against Crystal Palace. Klopp himself said they were terrible for the first 75 minutes. So, and Alisson is being Alisson, and he's the one who keeps them floating and up at the top of the table. So I don't know if it's who are you? The only thing that would probably make sense to me is the 8th attacker thing. Outside of that, Trippier's suspended next week. Trent, just not a good entry point for Trent also. So
I mean, money is going to be so we'll all be so rich basically by the time these guys leave. There's even a case for saying you get 8 attackers and you bench Son. Basically, if you have value tied up or something, it's going to be crazy. You can buy anyone you want.
Imagine, and even then people moved for 0.1 million. Imagine.
It's a case of water everywhere, not a drop to drink. But that being said, even for the AFCON, right? I think we'll just show a schedule up here from Rob TFPL when these guys are going to be back. Now, you both, Egypt and it's very difficult. South Korea, I expect them to go much further. Egypt, you don't know how they fare in the AFCON now. Let's assume we lose Salah around game week 21. If he's back by game week 23, 24, there's a danger there also if you spread your funds too much.
Yeah, we're going to do, I mean, this is going to be a very game. When we come to Lego Mane's slide, we'll talk about why this period is going to be very tricky to see which one you hold, because there's also blank in 26 to consider. There's a double that will come in that period. This is going to be a very tricky period as well to see which one you hold or not. But just
Pras, I want to listen. Let's get into it. Just
No, but we don't know yet, because we don't know the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup will happen in January. The FA Cup round 4 will happen in January. So once we know the results of those, then we will know the blank for game week 26. So that will determine how you need your funds and which one you need to hold or not. But I think what we know today in AFCON and in Asia Cup, both South Korea and Egypt are something like 5th or 6th favorites. So they're not favorites to make the semi-final. So we should use that as a base case of when do we expect these players to come back. And so from that point of view, it's, what, is it 3 weeks?
3 weeks, yeah. We're expecting around 24 then, approximately.
Correct. But last time Egypt was also not the favorites, but they ended up reaching the final, which
they lost
Senegal won. Yeah. So you just never know.
Correct.
But
and
is
also
it
the
for
value
sure that
argument.
game week 21 is the earliest they are not available? 20 they're available for sure?
Correct. I mean, for Son, there has been a confirmation that he will play the game. I think it's Crystal Palace at home, which is game week 20. And then he will fly right after that. So that has been confirmed. For Salah, we don't have a confirmation like that from their international team. But for Son, we 100% have it. But it's most likely to be the same for both.
Going by past precedents, that's how they usually do it.
Yeah, it just feels risky then, having this conversation, hearing the updates that we have when it comes to Erling Haaland, because you need to keep in mind that the fixtures after 18 for City are immediately Everton, Sheffield United, Newcastle, Burnley. Like 20 is Sheffield United home and 22 is Burnley at home. Yeah, I think there are some fixtures around that when we'll get into when we see Lego Mane's charts. But if Erling Haaland is starting those games, you're worried.
We should also mention the Club World Cup date, I think, for the fixtures I posted. And do you have that up with you, either of you guys? I posted in the group.
I'll just
if you go to Lego Mane's slide, I'll open the chart as well.
Cool.
I have it on the chat. So
go on, Ella.
So the semi-final dates are 19th December. This is Indian Standard Time, 11:30, and 22nd December, which is 4 hours after the deadline for game week 18. So by the time game week 18 deadline comes, you don't know what Haaland's dates are going to look like. But then the turnover after that is Friday to Wednesday, which is decent for Erling Haaland.
So Wednesday,
And
to be
then
clear, you mean the Everton game. So from his final to the Everton game, he will have 4 days. So
yeah,
their travel and fatigue won't be a problem. And so the other thing is, if he's playing the final, then he could equally play Everton, is what the point is. And then Sheffield United, some people may say, look, he's back from injury. You never know if he starts both Everton and Sheffield United, because that's also a worry, because Everton is on a Wednesday night. Sheffield United is 3 p.m. on a Saturday. So it's also a short turnaround. But for Sheffield United, I would again add one more thing in terms of your planning is it's a Saturday game, Saturday deadline. So these days, Man City is quite leaky is not the right word, but basically we will get some information if Haaland is starting or if he's available or not. So by Everton, Sheffield United, you definitely need to have a plan to bring him back.
yeah, and there's other things in play also, right? I mean, it's not like City are cruising 4 points ahead of their competition. They're chasing an Arsenal and a Liverpool team and are sitting 4 points behind the leaders in the league right now. So Pep will want to push the pedal and take no chances if he's in a title race, So that I think plays into, because if you think about the performance against Luton as well, it wasn't an easy ride. The City played well, did their thing, but it helps to have your Erling Haaland in place. I think this was probably the rest sort of thing that happened for him, and then they will want to go full throttle.
Yep.
A lot of people have assumed that he's out till the new year because his father sold him in fantasy. I love that.
Yeah,
That's quite cool.
I don't buy it. Like my
This-
gut
this is
is,
funny.
I won't be surprised if he starts Saturday. It's
No,
just
I'll still
where-
be very surprised if he starts Saturday, to be
Yeah.
honest, because given the state of the Palace team and given I wouldn't be surprised if he's on the bench, but a start would surprise me.
I mean, with the whole family thing, right? If we knew before the deadline, let's say we knew 2 days before the deadline that Haaland is missing Luton, I think pretty much all of us would sell him for Alvarez and probably Captain Alvarez. Because he then plays striker on penalties, playing Luton, all the things that Haaland has. And so you get like why they did it. But doesn't mean that means that you think he's out for weeks and weeks. I mean, I just didn't understand why people were losing it with the whole selling, his dad selling it.
Should we talk replacements?
Yeah, let's talk replacements.
First up, Dominic Solanke. I have the numbers up for the last 6 game weeks. He's top across the league amongst all players for XG non-pen and shots in the box. That's 4.79 XG non-pen, 21 shots in the box. Bournemouth stats are up there as well. They are also, I think, they are top over the last 6 game weeks for XG non-pen. So, like you said, the ceiling now is different for Solanke. And we
Yeah,
need
it
to
is.
talk to him. And I'm especially confused as somebody who has Darwin alongside now, because I like the entry point for Solanke a little bit better, but the game week 18 fixture is obviously a little bit better for Watkins. But at the same time, I don't want to do the transfer in game week 18 for Darwin to Solanke, because I know then in 19 I might have to use the Haaland thing. So I might want
Yeah.
to save the transfer. So it's quite confusing. What do you guys think about that?
I think Solanke is a good pick, but Watkins is just the better pick.
Better pick, right?
And I think and also Sheffield United had a really good performance against Brentford, who are looking a little Newcastle-ish in terms of being on their last legs, because their team is as dismantled as Newcastle's team, So it isn't as tough a fixture as it probably used to be. They're not doing that well defensively either at the moment. So I don't think our purview of how we view Brentford away as a fixture today needs to change because of how many injuries they have. I mean, they've lost, I think, 50-60% of their front line, and now they've lost Bumo and Ivan Toney. I think one of the midfielders is also injured. So, and a lot of players are playing a lot of minutes, so they don't look as fresh as they did earlier.
Yeah, there's an old club thing also there. But I don't know, do you think
Yeah.
Douglas Luiz is a big miss? There's a lot of speculation that Watkins might be on penalties, but I think we've heard that it's likely going to be McGinn, because at the
Yeah.
beginning
Yeah.
of the season it was between the two of them. So most likely they'll go to the Scot.
That's
Yeah.
a huge boost to Watkins as well, that he's not on pens, right?
Yeah.
One of the very poor penalty takers. But no, more seriously, I don't think. I mean, this team has just beaten Man City and Arsenal. I don't remember a team that is outside the traditional top 4, top 5 that is doing that, and no one is just. We should be awestruck. I mean, it's incredible to beat those teams with a clean sheet in both the games. It's
Yeah.
just a team that is on the up now. Bournemouth is similar, but not of the same scale in terms of how high Villa is at the moment.
Correct. You
And
need to
in-
sort out
in-
that away form. That's really what's holding them back. If they get that together, genuine title challengers.
And also, Luton at home isn't as green a fixture as we think it is. They're a hard-working team. Again, I don't think they get blown apart or blown away by 3, 4, 5 goals in games. They're a hard-working, tough team that don't make life easy for their opposition as things stand. This is my perception. It's a very hard-working team.
That being said, I agree with the point you're making. Will they give Bournemouth the same respect they do to a Man City or a Tottenham, something like that? That's what I'm wondering. And it's at Bournemouth, not at Kenilworth Road.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they will give respect, because it's away. So they don't have to go out and play, etc. Right? So that's the point. I just think Watkins. Imagine you've just beaten Arsenal and City at home and are sitting within 3-4 points of that range. Imagine how that dressing room is going to be. They're feeling it. Martinez says he's a believer. That's the mindset that Emery has going. Emery is probably just going to ride that until the end of the season, or as long as he can, where he asks the squad to punch above their weight. That they're going to continue pushing, trying hard. That's the mindset. I just think you get Watkins. Yeah. We've seen it in the last. Solanke's a really good pick. But what could happen, right? What have we been? You think about planning FPL and all of that, right? In the last 3 weeks, 2 weeks ago, Boomo replacements. This week, Haaland replacements. All the planning is in the bin right now because we're reacting to injuries. What if, I don't want to take names, I shouldn't, but a player you own that is owned very highly in the community gets injured next week and you can't make the replacement, and then you have to take a hit to get Watkins against Sheffield United at home. That could happen as well. So just get the asset you believe in. That said, if you got Dom, is it a wrong move? No, he's a really good pick. Both are really good picks. I just think Watkins is the better pick.
Yeah. The third pick I wanted to talk about is Darwin. Sorry, Pras. I just wanted to share the numbers here for you guys as Manchester United fans for the fixture that is coming up this weekend. Now, these are the projected goals for Liverpool so far all over the season. And now this is a projection for United. They're projected to score 2.8 goals. That's more than they did against Luton at away, Fulham at home, Forest at home, Everton at home, West Ham at home. That's the current state of the Manchester United lineup right now. What do you guys think of that fixture? Now, do you remember this was 7-0 last year, and this is when we sold our Liverpool assets. I think there was a double. I think we all wildcarded, and I remember they got this massive haul. What's the general feeling going into this fixture as United fans?
Shaw and Maguire got injured last night, so it could get even worse. Not good.
And no Bruno.
Accurate.
No Bruno is huge. Yeah. I think that's what really affected the spread more than anything.
It's not looking good, bro. What else do you want us to say? It's not looking good. We're terrified.
Trying to get some sort of joy as a Chelsea fan, like your guys' misery.
Bus captains for both Pras and I. Pras is Salah your bus captain as things stand?
Yeah. He'll be like 170% this week.
Yeah. And I've faced the brunt. Like twice in my FPL career, I've felt close to the heart and bet against Mo Salah captaincy and have suffered 3 returns in both cases. I just don't think I have it in me to do it again. And it's at Anfield.
It's at Anfield, and it's a difficult one to judge with Darwin again because the minutes, he was quite poor against Palace. Normally, you see Darwin miss chances and could still be thereabouts. He had nothing at Palace, just a couple of set-piece chances, a lot of offsides. I'll be worried about minutes, and I'll be watching the Europa League lineups very closely because Liverpool also have a League Cup fixture midweek against West Ham, which is a semi-final. So obviously they will rotate a bit in this game. They have nothing to play for. They already topped the group. So if Darwin starts this game, do I start worrying about him for the weekend, and do I potentially sell him for a hit then?
You probably just hold anyway, but I hear you. Remember early season, Klopp was saying a lot of things like, he's putting up the right thing. He's doing the right things. He's pressing. His quotes were not nice. Basically he, in fact, used 76 minutes as the mark when he was subbed off, as the first 76 minutes we were very poor. Correct. So it's not a great sign, but you have to hold for this fixture no matter what. I think even if he starts Europa League, you play him, because now unless Haaland is completely fit and you wanted to do Darwin to Watkins, which may have been the very popular move this week had Haaland been completely fit, I think you just hold.
Also, these days Darwin tends to, it's happenstance, but Darwin tends to do better when he comes on as a sub rather than when he starts the game. I think I remember I owned him for a while, so the returns that I've gotten from him have been when he's come on as a sub.
Yeah, but obviously you don't want that. He gets your 4 5s and all that stuff. And I do see like a potential entry point for Solanke is good this week, because ultimately if you don't get him this week, you're likely not getting him next week either. You're not going to use a transfer for 1 week if Salah is thereabouts. So that's the thing that concerns me over there.
Fair enough. I mean, you judge the minutes and you take it, but I'm with Pras. I don't think it's worth a hit. Because I feel like Darwin can do enough damage in 30 minutes and he could still start.
Yeah, and if he does start again, it's a great fixture.
Yeah.
It's a good fixture. But look, I would just caution one thing. I think United also will take a more defensive mentality in this game. So unlike last season, when we all sold Salah, United were on the up. That was the season we triple captained Rashford, and we were thinking we were much better than we turned out to be. This season it's the opposite. So you'll probably see Menu play alongside a Amrabat. You'll probably have So what I'm saying is they'll probably have 30% possession, but it does not mean a 7-0. So I think people just need to also temper that expectation. There's a super chat from Doyle Sports. Thank you for that. Triple captain Salah. No, you'll have other weeks. If you want Salah, you'll have a double game week. You'll have Haaland. Let's not get overexcited about this game as well.
Yeah. Our centre backs could potentially be Varane and Evans as things stand.
Because
these are the two, or Lindelof. Yeah, three of these two guys, because Maguire and Shaw are not sure. I'm not sure how fit they're going to be for the weekend. So that's another problem.
Dalot, I think it'll be Johnny Evans because he's the left-sided guy. Varane or Lindelof and Van Bissaka.
Yeah.
Such is our sentiment right now as United fans that if we lose 3-0, we'll be like, phew, it wasn't as bad as we thought it could be.
Yeah, because that's pretty much what the projection is. Your 2.8 is joint highest with Man City against Palace.
Yeah.
But the clean sheet odds are possibly not as high as I would expect. It's only 33%. So they do expect you guys to score still. I don't necessarily agree with that.
Liverpool are just not a good defense this season. Right? They've needed Alisson to bail. They've needed Alisson to bail them out. Like Palace could have scored 3 against them. That's just the state of the Liverpool defense. And that's been the case.
Speaking of defense, another number that just caught my eye: Newcastle only 32% for a clean sheet at home to Fulham. I guess that's to do with Fulham's recent form.
Fulham's recent form, Newcastle's dip in form, them being leggy, them playing a very important game in Champions League against Milan. So the first team is going to be even more tired.
And Trippier is out.
It makes sense.
It's the same odds as Tottenham away to Forest.
Yeah.
Slightly low.
Arsenal looks high. 37% is fairly high.
Yeah, because Brighton, I read a stat, they've scored in something like 32 league games. Not league games, all games, all competitions.
Let's get into the schedule and the helicopter view first, and then we'll talk about a few players and teams that we want to.
Sure. Go ahead, Pras.
Okay, so we are now in the middle of the second column, which is basically after game week 16. So we have the European fixtures. Couple of games tonight. We already know Alvarez is not starting for Man City. Haaland is not even in the squad. The two important ones you guys mentioned correctly are basically the Liverpool one. Let's see who starts, more specifically if Darwin starts or not. And then I guess for Newcastle, we will see if there's any injury. So those are the two things more from a game perspective that we need to wait out for. So game week 17 we talked about. I think this is an interesting one where there was no clear captain, and until Man United showed themselves as you can back a Salah. So game week between 17 and 18 is the Carabao Cup quarterfinal. So you'll have Arsenal getting a complete midweek rest. Man City is then off to the Club World Cup. Man United have a midweek rest. So the only Carabao Cup games that you talked about, Zoph, are basically Liverpool playing West Ham, Newcastle playing Chelsea, and Everton playing Fulham. And what's the fourth one?
Everton aren't playing. Wait, Everton, Fulham, they're not in the League Cup, are they?
They are.
I remember it being semi-finals. I'm not sure.
Okay. So maybe
this is possibly wrong
incorrect
over there.
Yeah. So Liverpool, Newcastle, Everton. No, so Liverpool, Newcastle, West Ham, and Chelsea are the 4 teams in the Carabao quarterfinal. Then you have game week 18. Now, there's one very interesting thing about game week 18 and 19. They mirror in game week 23 and 24. So whatever. Sorry, 22 and I'm getting confused now. So Man United play West Ham and Aston Villa. And then West Ham and Aston Villa, correct. So
23 and 24, yeah.
You're right.
So 18 and 19 mirrors. So if you have somebody like a Solanke, who's got very good fixtures, if you look at Bournemouth, you play Nottingham Forest and Fulham. Beautifully, you again play Nottingham Forest and Fulham. Watkins plays Sheffield United twice in 5 weeks because of this whole mirroring. So that's one thing to watch out for, good fixtures. If you're getting players, they're actually good medium-term holds as well.
Fulham play Bournemouth and Burnley. Interesting.
Exactly.
Mm.
So this is why Leno is popular and doing very well and will continue to do well. So 18, 19, 20 is the next block. We talked about this when we were doing the last helicopter view, where you will see a lot of rotation. This is during the New Year's time. We saw a lot of unexpected benchings in this last block. Even for example, teams like Chelsea, Thiago Silva missed his first game ever. Sterling got rotated. Um, you know, I think most teams had some surprises. So um, that's 1 week to watch out for. And game week 18 is the blank, which we already know. After game week 20 is the interesting part. I should also actually say game week 20 was expected to be a double for Man City. It doesn't look like it will be the case. So that double is not going to fall in game week 20 anymore. Doesn't look like. It could still fall in game week 21, because now you see this barren gray space in January. This is basically the winter break. It's the FA Cup third round, FA Cup fourth round, Carabao Cup semi-final leg 1, and Carabao Cup semi-final leg 2. There's only 2 deadlines in January, which is basically your game week 21, which is January 13th, and then 30th of January, game week 22. But January will be very important for future planning. We'll definitely do a macro helicopter view video during this time, because you will know the blank for game week 26, because we'll have the finalist for Carabao Cup final. We will know after the FA Cup round 4, we will know a lot better in terms of the blank game week 29. So it's a good week to start planning your stuff. And also, hopefully after that, you'll get the double for Man City as well, the Man City Brentford double.
21 onwards moves are going to be big because there's no Son Salah. So where people go is going to be interesting.
You have to ignore price, right? You have to ignore a price tag completely. And I just wanted to, I made a mistake earlier. It is in fact a quarterfinal. Fulham, Everton are in it. So there's one more. What confused me, the 2 other teams are not Premier League teams. I didn't see them there.
Correct.
That's what threw me up. But what do we like? So what do we learn from the schedule? Take it as FPL managers. Basically, ride it out till 18, and then 18 look at the schedule. Then we'll again have the rest period, etc., to look at more closely, right? Because there is an imbalance. I remember looking at Chelsea having a brutal schedule. Then Wolves had a difficult schedule. Newcastle had one of the best schedules, in fact. And we look at that at the game week 18 pod.
In the rest periods, yes, of course, we will have to consider that stuff. But yeah, I think what people need to right now be fixated on, how do I navigate blank game week 18? And it's become a lot easier after Bumo and possibly Haaland being out. And how do I prepare my squad again for this 18, 19, 20 rotation? And how do I prepare for this AFCON and people leaving after that?
Should we talk about some teams now? Spurs, Newcastle, etc.
Spurs. I think Spurs is a very important team to talk about now because the fixtures are looking fairly decent for them. Just Forest, Everton, Brighton, Bournemouth, United, Brentford, Everton, Brighton, Wolves. It looks really, really good for attackers in general. What do you guys think? Is Son going to continue play on the wing? And was Richarlison playing striker just a one-time thing, tactical thing against Newcastle? Or is that like my first inclination is that Son's going to leave after game week 20. So I feel like Ange just wants to try and get his striker in place when Son is not here and get that system going and working while having Son as his winger in place and letting Richarlison sort of stick and experiment in that position. And I think after scoring 2 goals, it's going to stick is what I see. And also tactically, where earlier in the start of the season, when Son was playing left wing, he was playing very wide. This wasn't the case this time. What's happened is both the wingers, whether it's Brennan on that side or Son on this side, they're making a lot of inside runs. So whenever the cross is coming from either side, they're present at the back post or in the center of the box. Even Brennan Johnson, like whenever I was watching the Spurs game, like the only thing I kept telling myself, Johnson was the right Boomer replacement. Johnson was the right Boomer replacement. That was like a 15, 16, 17 pointer. He was in really good, amazing goal scoring positions. But I think one more Richarlison start in the next game week is enough for him to fly and shoot up in ownership because everybody's going to get, he's going to be the midfielder to buy.
Pras, your thoughts?
I mean, you'll see in the wildcard section that I've got Richarlison in there. And I mean, look, there is a chance that it was done tactically because Trippier was on that side and he wanted basically Son to attack him from there. We don't know yet. But what we do know is there will be 3 or 4 game weeks coming up where Richarlison will play up top. And we do know that if they want to fit these guys in, especially without Maddison, then the best way to fit them in is probably in this formation where Kulu is playing behind and Johnson on the right. And somebody on the left. But it's, Richarlison was fine even on the left. So for me, it's just about if he's fit and he's starting, he's confident, he's a good pick. So I would say Richarlison goes to almost, if the minutes continue to be there, to be almost as one of the best 6.5 options absent Mbeumo.
I'd agree with that. And I read something in an interview. He said he's much more comfortable now post injury. He said earlier it was causing him pain whenever he took a shot. So that's a big difference mentally for a player. And you could see. And ultimately, I think in terms of physical attributes, etc., Richarlison offers a bit more than Son does. Son, I think, struggles a little bit with his back to goal. He's very good, obviously, in making the runs. He's a very intelligent player and he's probably a better finisher. But Richarlison does have some attributes of a more natural number 9, I think.
Also, one thing, if you remember at the start of the season, Richarlison had a lot going on in his personal life as well.
Right.
Like there were reports coming out, it was one of the most difficult phases of his life. It wasn't a good run for Brazil either. All of those things were happening and they seem like they're behind him. So yeah, I think all of us are going to get him within a week, 2 weeks. I think if you have capacity to move to him this week, I think just wait 1 week for more information and I think they're there. I think 2 weeks is enough to just go. I want to pose a question to you guys. There's no Son, there's no Madison. Does it bother you? Does the lack of quality in that team with these two prime guys going out bother you when it comes to a team like Spurs? Zoph, I'll come to you first.
There's Pedro Porro, man. Porro is a beast. You don't need anyone when you have Porro. It's been so frustrating and lovely to own at the same time. I usually don't stay up for late night games, but I thought I'd watch the first 10-15 minutes for Spurs. And I just couldn't because Porro is just so exciting to watch. He's involved in everything. The end product hasn't come there, but he's just a fun player to own.
So you're not worried about the lack of quality?
They'll manage, man, because the manager is in front foot, all-out attack manager, that they will create chances.
Pras?
Look, there could be a case that they're not putting them away, or there's some games in which they're frustrated because they miss a few chances, because the quality is still important. But the intent, not worried about at all. I mean, that Chelsea game where they were down to 9 men has just told us everything we need to know about him, about Ange as a manager. So there is no chance. And by the way, there is quality. Johnson is quality, Kulusevski is quality, Richarlison is good. You could play Lo Celso, although Maddison could be back as well in January. So we have to remember that January, again, like we just said, is just one game until January 30th. So essentially, you could even say Maddison will be back, and by game week 22, then I think there's no issues at all in terms of quality.
Yeah, I actually like Richarlison more than a Palmer today, if I was buying.
Yeah, for sure. He's just striker in one of the most attacking teams in the league. Like it's just a great pick. I think next week everybody's going to be buying him. I think if we are looking at a spot in midfield. Question to you guys: if you're in the market for a defender, I mean Spurs are still conceding 1.52 xG a game. Does that bother you when you're looking at Porro stats? Last game 5 chances created, 5 shots. This game 3 chances created, 3 shots. Does that bother you at all when it comes to Pedro Porro?
Who's keeping clean sheets?
Yeah.
If you had a consistent defense I could double up on as an alternative, I would say forget about him. Not keeping clean sheets. But the fact that if we don't have those options this year, I think he's the third best defensive pick in the game.
Us?
Yeah, I would say, look, the attack is there. The attacking intent is there. Now, one thing we didn't talk about is they will lose Sarr and Bissouma for AFCON as well. So that midfield is going to suffer a little bit more in terms of defensive. Again, intent will still be there. Højbjerg
I did not clock that information. That's quite important. Losing Sarr and Bissouma is quite important. Yeah.
So that will be something to watch out for. I don't have Porro. It gives me nightmares, and I love watching Spurs games. And because of him, I'm finding it difficult to watch Spurs games. Just for that, I might take a hit and get him this week. But look, I think he's an elite. He's everything you want from a defender without the clean sheets. So I would say at the moment in terms of attacking threat, he's even bigger than
the clean sheets. I've lost 2 clean sheets very late. The Wolves one and the Newcastle one has been close. So it's not like they're completely appalling.
Yeah, but I mean, Newcastle could have scored with that Isak. I mean, if you look at just underlying data, it's absolutely not. They're not in the top 10.
Then the bottom 3. I have the data.
Bottom 5, 6.
Yeah. So this is what sometimes makes me think, okay, am I going to bench a second Arsenal defender for Porro at some point? If I'm watching the game, yes. But if I'm only thinking from my brain, the clean sheet odds for Arsenal are way higher than Spurs. 6-7%, not way higher. So I'm in that dilemma myself. But knowing the way we like to play the game, is you want to root for your player while watching the games, and you want to root for the player even though your clean sheet has been lost. Poro's your player. Trent, Trippier are your three players.
But question to you. If you have 8.5 million to spend and money is not important, is there an entry point this week? Given the fixtures, given what you know of Trent and Poro, if I gave an option to buy this week, who do you buy, Trent or Poro?
Very difficult. I've been thinking about
I'd say Trent, man. Trent has an easier fixture.
I would still go Trent, I think.
I think I'd go Poro. I think Poro has substantially higher attacking threat than Trent as things stand.
Countered
And
by
I think the
clean
fixture.
sheet.
Clean sheet, no,
See,
also
Tom-
individually, but the players that Trent is providing service for is better, right? You see, Poro has created these numbers, but you see how much 5 chances converted, like created 1 is converted.
I mean, all he needs to do is pass a couple to Son, which he did.
Which he did,
It's
and
just that
Son
you-
just took a bad touch and Dubravka brought him down, man.
Yeah, which he did. It was so terrible. I'm with Pras. I'm so glad I had Poro the last game week. There was just a glitch in the matrix where I got 0 points for Poro last week, and I have 0 free transfers for some reason. But I have Poro now. Nothing else to discuss there.
I feel like how you
Yeah.
did with Darwin somehow. that,
Yeah.
that you guys are arriving to him late, and now you're gonna get the 18-pointer.
Yeah, just a good time to talk defenders while we're talking Poro and discussing Trent and Trippier. I want to shout out one name that I think is going to be a very good pick this week onwards is Pau Torres. I think if somebody is shopping, already has a Poro in place and is shopping in the cheaper price bracket, the fixtures for Villa look really, really good. Like a couple of things might happen now. Now that Villa have beaten City and Arsenal at home, are they going to think we're in it with a chance? Do they probably get a little tighter because they will want to win games now? Will Emery be less gung ho than he was? I just think about that, and the fixtures are there for clean sheets. Brentford away, Sheffield United at home, United away, Burnley at home, Everton away, Newcastle, Sheffield United again. Like really good fixtures for a long time until game week 26. They've got good fixtures. I just think he's a good steady Eddie. I think first choice. Now that Cash isn't first choice and he's going to play the 3 centre backs along with Dino Moreno on that side, I think they're just in a much better setup defensively. What do you reckon?
The cash thing depends a lot, I would have to say, on Bailey. Because the Villa guys I've spoken to, because Bailey's injury could open the door for Diaby to get more regular starts in the team and Cash to come back as well. So we need to monitor that situation. I think if you have Cash, now at this point, you don't sell him, you just hold him out and you play him in 18. Just give it a go.
Yeah. But I think generally I agree with LR completely. I'm looking at Pau Torres as well as my other defender option that I'm looking at. Because if you look after game week 21, basically, I think only a couple of days ago, I was basically on the scout ticker and I was trying to see who is top of the ticker after game week 21. Where will we put the money? The top is Brighton, which nobody is trusting at the moment. So unless Estupinian is fit, we don't know. Second was Aston Villa. So for the next 7-8 game weeks, even after game week 21, Aston Villa is second on the ticker. You just want Watkins and a reliable defender. And if Bailey is fit, I think he could be an option. But I think just a couple of guys from Villa, especially a 4.6, 4.7 defender who you can bench in some of the tougher games, I think that's a good pick.
I found the term donor kebab, which Planet FPL used for Bailey. A really good term. He's a donor kebab transfer. You might enjoy it right when you have it, but the next day, eventually, it's going to hurt you.
Fair enough. His output is crazy. Have you looked at those numbers? He's got something like 9 or 10 returns in a very small space of minutes.
We were right on him and Neto just 2 years early.
Yeah. Right. Any other defenders if you guys had to go, because there are a few people on Wildcard as well? You throw an Arsenal defender in there right now?
Udogi, do you consider, let's say if you can't find the money for Poro, is Udogi an option?
No.
Poro,
just
can
get
find
the
the
Arsenal
money.
defender then.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, just find money for Poro and then don't get a second Spurs defender is where I am. Because you want more from their attack than you want from their defense, in my opinion.
We've covered Bournemouth, Luton extensively. Let's talk a bit about Chelsea. If we really don't want to, but let's talk about it. If we must. I think it's just Palmer or bust, man. But the news is today that we have Nkunku and Lavia are back in training. I'm hopeful we could get at least one of them in the squad for the weekend, and that might change things a little bit, but you just don't know what to expect from Chelsea on a game-by-game basis.
But I think Palmer's
was the best player even against Everton.
Yeah.
So I think you just hold him.
We have the best cheap defender coming available soon. Gusto is back. And James is out for 3 months. Gusto is what, 4 million now?
4 odd million, but he will get rotated as well.
But why do you want cheap defenders? Are we owning interest from banks?
It's true. I mean, I get it. But what I'm saying is
Yeah.
there's also a place where you just leave a guy, right? And you say, I don't want Charlie Taylor.
Maybe
Like,
your
think about
fifth,
it this
your
way.
fifth defender, I don't mind. Not as your third
Like,
or fourth. As a fifth is
If I
still.
can do, if I can sell Haaland this week, let's say he's out, then which defender do I upgrade? I'll upgrade Charlie Taylor, because if I need funds again, I'll come Saliba down to Gusto to get my money back.
But is Charlie Taylor to Gusto an upgrade?
It's enough. I
Touche.
mean, with the fixtures, I know Charlie Taylor. I should not disrespect the name. He has delivered every time we've asked him to deliver.
Fantasy
But-
legend, Pras. Yeah.
But I just think Gusto will become an option, because at right back, they are, Disasi hasn't really worked. Cucurella and Colville, they've tried on the right, but I think it's going to be Gusto when he comes back. He was very good as an option when he was fit.
Yep. I think he's good possibly beyond 2018, 19, 20. You'll probably miss one game, which is not bad at his price.
Yeah.
The names are appropriate, right? Those off. His name is Malo Gusto. He looks like the guy who's sitting in the corner selling illegal things to you as well. He just gives off those vibes to me. I wanted to throw that in there.
I'm
Anything
seeing
else
in the
on
chat,
Chelsea?
people are asking for Nkunku. I don't look with 18, 19, 20 that you can see in the ticker. Don't go there. Wait till January. Give him time. Give him some sub appearances, and then you can see if he works out as an FPL pick.
Yeah, give people time. Don't jump early on any assets. Especially when they're coming back from an injury. Lesson learned. We're not going to take names here, but just lesson learned. Let's talk about Arsenal.
Skip
I think
Man
there's a
City.
team to talk about.
Skip Man City and Newcastle.
Oh, you're going top down.
Let's do that.
All right.
We cover everything.
Yeah, cool. City. I thought Phil Foden looked really good against Crystal Palace, and I think if Erling Haaland is injured for a substantial amount of time, if that is the case, I think 19 we should start paying more attention to Phil Foden. Like, the numbers and the underlying numbers don't show it, but he was playing central and he was having all the grafters around him. Grealish, Bernardo Silva, Alvarez, all these guys are hard workers that just led to Foden getting the chances in the center of the park. So I'm interested there. Do you think a Newcastle, a City defender, given they have really good fixtures for the next few, after game week 18, is a shout at the moment?
I do think they'll start keeping clean sheets now. I think Pep will tighten them up a little bit. This is what he's done in the last few years also. When they start leaking, he goes back to the 2-0 style. But it's very difficult to identify the guy, and they don't have the guys with upside, so no.
I think Edison conversation on this podcast isn't far away. Let's say Newcastle buy De Gea 2nd January and he turns out to be their starting keeper. Everybody's in the market for a keeper. 2nd January onwards, City's fixtures read Sheffield United home, Newcastle away, Burnley home, Brentford away, Everton home, Chelsea home, Bournemouth away. People are going to start looking at him as an option.
In the wildcard draft, I had Edison, then I removed him. I was like, I can't have this conversation. So, of course...
I don't think the conversation's far away, man, and I think it's fine as a pick.
He's okay, but the problem is that City 2 years ago used to be a team where their XG conceded used to be here, and the next best used to be down here. Now you have Newcastle and Arsenal who are delivering similar numbers for much more nailed players, and in certain cases even with attacking upside players. Like City attacking upside in defenders is 0, right? I mean, so you get an odd Ake goal or a Diaz goal, but otherwise it's 0. Add rotation. Even Diaz is not safe. So I just don't see a defender that you can pick.
Diaz is not safe and Diaz is shit. Diaz is the reason City keep conceding those goals. He's not a good defender. He hasn't been a good defender for a while.
City might.
It's okay. I think they'll agree. I think City defenders will agree.
In certain games, he's had a bad game, but generally he's good.
Generally, he's good, but Stones, Guardiola, Akanji are all better centre backs in my opinion. They're all just better centre backs. That's how I see it. And City, I don't think City fans will disagree. He makes stellar, good-looking last-ditch tackles and does the whole fist pump and does all of that, which is why people like him. But I don't think he's a good defender. He's made a lot. He's very mistake-prone. And what's going to happen? What might change the numbers and the underlying numbers when it comes to the City defense is if John Stones is considerably and consistently fit and starting in that City team. Because I think that takes up their defense and the level of their defense up. He was phenomenal last season as well for City. So I think if he starts 3-4 games in a row, he's the pick you get. Because he's a goal scorer as well. Like, tends to get found on set pieces as well. De Bruyne won't be far. Gameweek 21, 22 onwards. So
Anything else on City Palace?
I just think people need to think more about Alvarez. As everybody's talking about Solanke, Watkins. I think Alvarez, if there is negative surprise from the Haaland thing, where people, the reporters are saying he's still some time away, I think people need to think about getting Alvarez as well.
I'd agree
there
with
was
that.
a
I guess
stat,
we
I
need to
think.
know. We need to find out why he isn't playing today. That's because that's a leak we got. Assuming if it's just a rest, then yeah.
It's
I agree.
it's like yesterday's Arsenal game. They're already top of the
Correct.
group.
So probably just
He had his
resting him.
highest XG tally since game week 6.47 this game.
Alvarez.
That's
Yeah.
quite underwhelming, isn't it?
Yeah, but just think about the pick that Alvarez has been also for all this while.
He'll be on pens as well. I think he's a credible pick. If Haaland is out for Sheffield United, I would pick Alvarez over Watkins or Solanke, even if he blanks next week.
Interesting.
That's fair. Let's talk about
Interesting.
Newcastle. We've heard a lot of injuries potentially over there because we heard that Gordon and Dubravka didn't train. Gordon, we don't know the reason. Dubravka, we're hearing it's possible illness and that he's carrying a shoulder injury, which means that Newcastle are actively looking for a keeper in Jan. But I guess we'll have more clarity by the weekend.
And
Yeah, we
tonight.
will have more.
I mean, he could even be okay. He had an illness, like you said, so he could be okay tonight, or it is what it is, man. I mean, keepers are just getting so difficult. The biggest frustration is Pickford is bloody keeping a clean sheet every week after I've sold him.
It's hilarious.
I mean, you remember when I was on the pod saying this week Pickford will keep a clean sheet for me, and he just didn't. And he was still a good pick, and now he just, they turned into AC Milan under with Maldini or whatever. But 3 clean sheets in a row, I don't get it. But it's just what it is with goalkeepers. You have to get a little lucky for it to be a high variance in points.
Because the
Just
data
like-
was good even back then, right? Even the first few
Yeah.
weeks, XG data at both ends of the pitch was good. It's just that now they're realizing it.
It's just like you and people in our live chat, Pras. You're a good pick, just the timing is wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like 20 years from.
Yeah. Just wanted to throw that in there. But Zoph, you're saying you're going to get information. You're going to hear twice from a man that is very reliable called Eddie Howe. What information are you going to get?
That's where we still get news whether they're training thereabouts in the squad, right?
Yeah. But let's talk about Fulham. That's the team to
Yeah.
talk about. Jim is back, man. It's so good to see that. I'm just so happy for him. I love him as a player. I mentioned on the previous pod. Like, if Haaland is out and you're doing the thing that Pras said in terms of get an 8th attacker, like I feel like Jim's price point of 5.2, 5.3 million is right there as the perfect 8th attacker. Like Solanke 6.5 million is 7th attacker price. Jim at 5.2 is just right there.
Agreed.
Apparently,
I
the
just-
change, Tom Kearney, I think, Kearney is his name. Him coming back into the team has revitalized them. What I've spoken to a
Yeah.
few fans and read a little bit.
Yeah, I like him. He's a legend on FIFA. I used to play FIFA about 3 years ago, and I used to like Fulham as a team. Used to play a lot with them as a team, and always did well in FIFA as well. So pro tip, yeah.
Yeah, I think, look, Fulham are on the up. They're not going to score 5 goals in this game, though. So we just need to temper expectations. But Jimenez, if I see him on a penalty, his penalty record is great. I think a lot of people have mentioned this recently. Very, very good option as your third striker. Better than Chris Wood. Wish Wood was doing as well as Jimenez, but not quite.
He's still getting into good positions, Pras.
He always does.
X3 sum is high.
Zoph, you were looking at Iwobi's numbers. Are you convinced about him as a pick?
No, I wasn't really looking into it. I was more of a joke that we should buy Iwobi. I wasn't seriously doubting Iwobi.
All right. Yeah. I don't think there are any picks from midfield just yet. Like if Harry Wilson was a consistent starter, maybe that would be something. But outside of that, I don't see any picks in midfield. Is Leno the obvious keeper to go for? If Dubravka is injured, any of that?
I would have liked to set Sanchez because of the fixtures for Chelsea, but there's a possible injury there. Petrovic, I think we will look for a replacement, and he's 4.5. Leno's also pretty expensive now, right? He's what, 4.7, 4.8 now? He's well above base price. I remember checking earlier.
It's fine. We live in a world where we have more money than we need.
That's you say now, but again, once in 25, 26, again, you come up, money is again going to be an issue.
True. I can't buy a Fulham keeper, man. I'm
That's
happy to be wrong.
I just can't. I still see them scoring more, but I just can't back them.
But like objectively having this conversation, how long does Leno have to do this?
And you notice that
sitting on the
in a
top
5-0,
2 or
he got
3.
two bonus. Two bonus in the final is good, but that's helped by there being 5 different scorers. Only one player got a double return. That's Wilson. Goal and assist. Everybody else got only either.
That's not the point. This is proof since a year and a half now, where Leno is sitting there or thereabouts when it comes to the top 3 keepers when you're filter by points at the end of the season. Like, how much proof of concept do we need to get there? I'm with you. Like, I feel the same way when it comes to I can't just buy a Fulham keeper. But do we just succumb to the points and see that he's inevitable and you get him?
Possibly. I'll say he's not a bad pick. I have difficulty saying he's a good pick, but I'll say he's not a bad pick.
Bit like Pickford, right?
Yeah.
You go there
Yeah.
with good fixtures, so you could get it.
But
But you
Pickford is
don't be
4.3. That's the advantage, right? I'll still look at the points per million. Makes a difference to me. I want to spend a minimum possible on the least upside position.
You know, if I'm buying a keeper today, who I'll buy if it's not Dubravka? Neto. I just rate him as a keeper. Bournemouth are, I think, 6th or 7th for XGC in the last 7-8 games. Yeah, he's a good keeper. Get some saves as well. 4.5 million nailed on starter. I just think that's your pick.
Or
If
you
you're
go
looking for
Raya
this.
or Martinez or something like that.
Yeah, Raya's a good shout, isn't
Raya
it?
still give me nightmares, man. I would not want to go there in the Arsenal goalkeeper position. Because again, Ramsdale good last night. Raya has a shocker. That Arsenal goalkeeper position is a no-go.
And Arsenal options are opening up. I mean, we discussed Haaland replacements. For those that like to bet against a template, I genuinely can't cite a good reason not to go Gabriel Jesus. Like, the fixtures are there. He's looking in form. Arsenal are purring. One of the big reasons for them purring is certain Martin Odegaard is back in form. I tweeted about him, and Baker mentioned to me, Pras, that you guys also had a chat about him the day I mentioned him as a pick as well. He is looking sharp. He's just looking really, really sharp in the last 2 or 3 matches. The big chances are falling to him. He's creating chances at a very frequent rate now. I like him as a pick. I think I won't be surprised if he's tempered for one of the 2 replacements for Son and Mo when we need to go there.
Yep.
Done
The
to
fixtures for
Odegaard.
Arsenal are Brighton, Liverpool, West Ham, Fulham, Palace, Forest. Yeah, good fixtures.
Yeah, the fixtures. Just a good pick. Don't need to worry about minutes, etc. as well. Do you think Jesus is a pick? I just think Watkins
very
and
much
Dom
so.
are sitting there as obvious replacements. Jesus is an outside bet, is how I see it. What do you guys think?
We need to see Arsenal putting up more XG numbers, more goals, right? Because the problem is, I think most of us own Saka. They haven't shown enough for me to want 2 attackers.
I think that's changing a little.
Like you said, it's something I need to see, and that's where we are different as managers. Once I see it, then I'll probably be looking a bit more. I want to get the Liverpool fixture out of the way.
Yeah.
But Liverpool
Thoughts on
is
the performance?
attack is good. I mean, Liverpool fixture is good. I mean, I'm not saying buy Odegaard
At
before.
Anfield, though, at Anfield is still always difficult. We say that they leak and all that stuff, but they concede the odd big chance. They don't concede a volume of chances.
Maybe.
That's what I am
I'm
on.
interested in the odds for that game. Who do you think would win, Liverpool Arsenal?
At Liverpool at Anfield, I always back them to beat anyone.
I don't know, man. I think objectively as a team, as things stand, Arsenal are better. I like the trend for Arsenal. I thought they were great against Villa also. I thought they were unlucky. They deserved at least a draw from that game.
Yes.
Genuinely thought that performance was phenomenal. And like, 2 things are happening, right? One, Jesus is fit and firing and Odegaard is in form. And if these 2 things click, everybody else is working well as well. I think Arsenal on the up.
Fair.
Yeah.
Brentford Villa, I think we discussed already Villa in detail. I guess it's an easier fixture for Villa than it probably would have been a month ago. That's where we are.
Yeah.
West Ham Wolves, not much to talk about. So skip that.
They were shocking against Fulham, man.
But like I think how much you read into that, because they apparently had some sickness bug. That's what Moyes mentioned. A lot of their players, they played even though they were sick. It's like short turnaround. So, and they didn't have like Areola, because Areola has been bailing them out. However poor he has been in FPL for us, he's been making big saves.
We need Areola back.
If he's fit, he's going straight back into the team. There's no doubt in my mind. He's a level above.
Agreed.
What do you guys think about Bowen? He had good chances. 0.89 XG.
1 XGI overall the last game. Very unlucky not to score. Still a good pick.
Because again, people will have money, right, to spend once they're selling Salah and so on. So I just think he's not as good a pick as he was maybe 6 or 8 weeks ago, because West Ham just aren't in form at the moment. They're not playing as well as they should. So that's the one thing with that.
But he's still
I think
the
Bowen's
best. Sorry, go on.
Like, Bowen It's just a better pick if he's playing with Antonio.
Yep,
Is the thing that
with the striker.
With the striker that's sticking in my head when it comes to a player like Bowen.
But in terms of, I mean, when we talk about four, Son, Salah, Saka, and maybe Palmer as the ones that are pretty much people agree are the four good picks. I think the fifth is Bowen. So a lot had to go for a Gordon because funds were a problem last week. Now that's not a problem. And now Richarlison is into the mix as well. So question is, if you were to choose again, maybe if you take Richarlison out, I would still pick Bowen over Gordon.
Definitely.
If I could.
Yeah, but I think once we have the money, people might have a choice between Bowen and Odegaard, for example. And if Arsenal are hitting form, hitting their stride at that moment, which I see happening. Yeah, that's going to be the
Discuss some wildcard drafts before our bus teams.
Sure. Let's do it. So it's just one draft, and we are going to talk about how it basically flows through in the various weeks, because it has a plan essentially of how to maneuver. So again, it's not going to be about specific picks. I mean, if you don't like Livramento, obviously you made this before this news of Dan Burn possibly being back, pick someone else. But essentially what it is you've got two keepers around this 4 million, 4.5 million. You could pick Leno, you could pick Areola. This has got Dubravka and Flecker. Yeah, exactly. So it has Flecken and Dubravka because Flecken for the double in the future and Dubravka until he's nailed. Defense, I think, fairly picks itself, which is Porro, Trent, one Arsenal defender, Pau Torres, who we talked about in the pod, and a Newcastle defender. This can change in terms of you could have a Trippier from next week, or you can bench him this week, or you instead of a Pau Torres, you could have a Colwill. Instead of a Gabriel, you could have an Aston Villa defender. So there are some variations on defense.
Let's pause here at defense and let's do a roundup in terms of where we would go if we were on wildcard. Zoph, would you go Trippier or Trent?
Trippier. But again, there's a fixture play, right? The fixtures are pretty dicey for Newcastle from 20 on. I would probably go for Trent given the fixture run alone.
Trent's fixtures aren't good. Trent's fixtures aren't good for a long time. Again, they played Chelsea
but they're home games.
Again, you're talking about this week is your wild card, right? Ultimately, you'd be benching Trippier then. Then you'd be playing him for Luton away, which is not a great clean sheet fixture. Again, Forest at home is good. Then Liverpool away, Man City at home, Villa away, again poor. Then the fixtures reverse.
Yes, exactly. So
how many clean sheets do you see for Trippier? Then let's assume 17 Fulham is out of the way. I see what after that you see maybe 3?
2 to 3.
I think 2 would be what I wanted to say, but 3 is a more optimistic one. But yeah, let's look at Liverpool. You can play Trent this week. Go ahead, you're saying something?
The problem with Newcastle was they're down on their last legs, but the news that we have is a lot of their injured players are coming back. Burns coming back.
And from 20 you resets, right? 20 post 20 everything resets.
Exactly. So a fit and fresh Newcastle, I think our purview needs to change, which is why, again, Trippier is capable of those 10, 12, 13 pointers in those 3 easy fixtures as well, between 23 and 25.
So there's plenty of money in the bank in this one, by the way. So you can upgrade in other. I think it's 1.5 million in the bank, but because this doesn't have Haaland. But in defense in general, so you could have both, by the way. You could have Trent and Trippier and sacrifice somebody like a Saka. But we'll talk about that variation later. But I think generally speaking, these are the 5 defenses you want to cover, right? I mean, you want Spurs, Porro, you want Trent, you want Trippier or somebody, but a Newcastle defender, an Arsenal defender, and Villa. Do we agree that that's roughly where you want to go? Maybe John Stones, maybe Chelsea as an outside, slightly different. Let's come to midfield. So Son, Salah, Saka is in there. Palmer is in there. 4 we talked about. Richarlison is in here now for the reasons of maybe you get lucky he plays in through the middle, but you want Richarlison when Son goes to Asia Cup anyway. So good pick that you can have now that pretty much nobody will have for the next 3-4 weeks. So midfield, what would you change?
I like it because ultimately the main thing you're doing over here, the only concern that over here is the money being spread to the 8th attacker a little bit. That's for me, but again, that's me playing traditional FPL. The FPL traditional rules go out the window from like the next few weeks, right?
Yeah, exactly, and 8 attackers is going to be useful in the next 4 weeks.
Which I will show exactly. Yeah. You've hit the nail on the head. So this week is a pain because I've benched Palmer home to Sheffield United.
That's what's worrying me just looking at that.
But he'll help you next week because you'll have to bench Alvarez next week. So if you go to the next image now, actually no, let's finish this. So midfield, I think generally there'll be less of a discussion. You could go Saka down to a Gordon and you could upgrade Livramento to a Trippier and bench Trippier this week. That's also an option. You basically go
And if you
very
don't
big
want to
at the
play
back.
this, if you don't want to play the squad game, then I think you upgrade a Palmer to an Odegaard or something of that sort. If you fancy a pick like that, or Bowen at that price point,
Yeah.
is what you could do.
Could do that as well. Could do that.
Yeah.
So the Saka basically downgrade I'm talking about is simply because what you would do is you get the Trippier now. Instead of Saka, you come down to a Gordon or someone else in that price range. Then when Son leaves for AFCON, Son becomes Saka temporarily. So it's a different structure. So you don't need to reshuffle. Salah, you cannot use the money because Salah will fund Haaland, which we will show you in the next iteration. Up top, I think this one is the least debatable. You want Watkins, Solanke, and Alvarez as the three strikers. Do you disagree? These are the three guys to get if you're on wildcard.
Right, Alvarez is
Only
pretty
one
much
person-
a placeholder for Haaland, right?
Correct. Or you get lucky and Haaland is delayed and you get the best striker in the game.
What
Like,
would be the
only
route
one
to
pick
Haaland? Let's just
Pushing
sorry,
these
Anand.
guys
Go ahead.
is Gabriel Jesus. That's it. Like
Yeah.
only the fourth guy sitting outside of these three is Gabriel Jesus. And if you're playing the eighth attacker game, then Jimenez. Like I think that's the pool of strikers we're looking at.
What's the
I don't
route
know.
back to Haaland over here? Selling Salah in 20?
So let's go to the next image. Do you have all the four that
Yes,
I
I
said?
have all four.
Okay, so this is basically, that was game week 18. Sorry, which game week are we in now? Game
17,
week
that was 17.
We're in 17. Now let's go to game week 18. So now you can see here, no transfers made. Alvarez is now benched. You can even bench Trent. You can bench Gabriel. You have superb three strikers, three defenders, Porro, Everton, Pau Torres, and Livramento. Three great games. Your midfield is all ready to go. You have Solanke and Watkins with excellent fixtures in 18. So you're set for the blank using the wildcard. Get to the next image.
Pause. In case you're on wildcard as well, and one thing you do need to do is what Pras has done here is when you're building your team and planning your team. A shout out to FPL team, FPL.team, where Pras has done this planning where you can forward see what your fixtures are going to look like in the upcoming game weeks as well. So I just thought we'd give a shout out to them.
Correct. Game week 19, there is no transfer made here either. So this gives you a buffer for if something happens to Richarlison, something happens to Son, Solanke, Watkins, you move laterally. So no transfers made still. You basically have your defense back, your Gabriel, your Trent, who you benched in the last game week. You still have your Newcastle defense. You have your four midfielders. Again, you have to bench Palmer against Crystal Palace, which is not ideal, but it gives you that option. Alvarez, if Haaland is back by then you can maybe basically not play Alvarez. You can play a Palmer, but even I think Alvarez would be okay. And then the fourth image is the important one, which is basically you get Haaland back against Sheffield United by doing Salah to Foden, and you do Alvarez to Haaland.
Yeah.
So that
this
can
is
be a
your route back
Bowen
to
or
Haaland.
anybody else.
Yeah.
Because
Anybody.
Salah's
Any
gone from
midfielder.
21 anyway, right? So it's only
Yeah.
1 week effectively losing out. Who does Salah have in 20?
Newcastle.
Yeah, it's not the best fixture either.
So this is why a route to Haaland through Salah is basically you sell Salah before Newcastle at home, and then he's off to AFCON, so you don't need him, and then you get Haaland back in game week 20. This would be at least our suggested or a thinking around how you could walk through a Haaland out team. The spanner in this is if Haaland is nearly back, then you'll be stuck whether you should have him on the bench or how will you get Haaland back, and that's something I have not considered here. You just have to sort of assume that even if he's fit, you're going to close your eyes. And
You can go
game
without
week-
him till 19, man. Pretty much, again, like you said, you won't captain. Just bite the bullet, go without 19, buy him in 20.
Correct.
If he's definitely starting, if Pep says, "Oh, scan fine, he's fit,"
Of
then you
course,
get
you
him.
have him.
That's for this weekend
Yeah.
you're talking.
Yeah.
I like how optimistic you are on that. I really don't think that's happening, but I do hope it does. Make
But
life
like
lot
if that
simpler.
is the case, this is
Yeah.
just planning for all scenarios, right? So you get him, right? Irrespective.
100%.
Irrespective, 100%.
Yeah. Just want to shout out also, we're 1 hour in the podcast as well. If you've enjoyed all the forward planning, helicopter view, wildcard draft building that we're doing here, just please give us a like and subscribe. We had end of the year 30,000 subscriber target. I think we're about 1,200, 1,300 off still. I don't think we're going to achieve our 30,000 subscriber target by the end
Optimism.
of the
Let's
year.
be optimistic. Why not?
If you guys want to change us and change that and hope that we can be optimistic by the time the next podcast is out, please click the like and subscribe button. And if you want to hang around with us, you can become a member on YouTube or join us on Patreon, patreon.com/FPL Wire. We have a Discord server where there's some great people on there. Apologies to them. I've been busy since the last week. I haven't spent that much time on the Discord, but that will change in Jan once family commitments are done.
Bus
Yeah,
teams?
excellent. Well, one more thing to actually add on the wildcard, and I should have started with that. There's people with the wildcard that are debating if they should play it this week or game week 19 or game week 20. And I think it's fairly straightforward. If you have Haaland now and you have, let's say, a Bruno and a Trippier, I think it's time. You pull the wildcard and you play this scenario where you build a non-Haaland team and then you get Haaland. If you don't have Haaland, firstly, congratulations, you got very lucky that he's out now and the whole world is trying to get to your team structure. I think you can easily wait till game week 20. Game week 20 is the last week you can play it in. You basically continue and you play without your Haaland strategy and you then just follow through. And then in game week 20, you can build your team. You don't need to have the Salah double out. You can just build your team. You take out Salah anyway, but you can spread it a lot better and you just wildcard in game week 20. That would be our advice.
The fact that game week 20 now is out the window changes the strategy a little bit because that's possibly when you could see to hold the wildcard for. I think this is a good week to do it. Ella?
I just wanted a piece of advice to wildcarders as well. Looking at, especially if you have to build a Haaland-less draft, you have more money than you need, right? Like one thing you need to be very, very wary of while building this wildcard is price bias. Like just because you have money, you don't have to spend it is something. Just pick the good players irrespective of the price. It's almost going to be difficult to do that, but I think it's going to be the most difficult challenge that wildcarders are going to have because they're going to go for a pick that's about 3 million more and might not necessarily just be a better FPL pick also. So I think that's potentially something you need to be wary of.
Absolutely.
Bus teams, guys. The man with wood first.
Sorry, so you're going first off? Oh, you mean in the team?
I wish.
So I have got...
Like
no, this is my... Have I sent you my... Why is Areola playing Fulham?
Oh, it's fine. I might have I uploaded an older one. Yeah. 1 second. I've got the older images. Yeah, I'll just delete them really quick.
Go on, Pras, read out your team anyway.
I can still read it out, exactly. Yeah. So I'm playing Dubravka, if he's fit, home to Fulham. At the moment, I've got Gabriel and Saliba both playing home to Brighton, which I don't love, but I don't hate either. Livramento should be okay for this game because Trippier is out, so he'll play on the right. Happy with the midfield as long as Gordon is fine. So Palmer, Saka, Son, Salah captain, Gordon. And then Haaland and Watkins up top. Now, I've got 2 routes. I think that I will take 3 routes, actually. The first route is Chris Wood and Saliba out for Solanke and Pau Torres. So that will be for a hit. But that will basically give me a Villa defender that we've talked about. That will give me my Haaland, Watkins, Solanke front line, which barring injury, I think I'll have for the next 6-8 weeks. So I don't mind then benching Haaland this week, playing Solanke and Watkins. Because if in this image, if I change Haaland to a Solanke, the team I think still looks fine. Right. So it's not, even though I'll have Haaland on the bench, it's not the end of the world. Solanke, Watkins are good. The midfield is good. The defense is fine. And so game week 18 also, the team looks great. I can bench Haaland. But then it just feels not great that I've benched a 14 million asset and not made any use for it.
Especially if he's out for 19 as well.
Exactly. That's what leaves me in a difficult spot. If he's out for 19 as well, I've just lost a lot of value to the field when I could have done something with that money. So it'll come down to what I'm hearing in terms of his recovery. And if my base case is he's close and I think he'll be on the bench, then I think I'll go with this option. And I'll just basically do that. If I think he's out for a little while and I'm confident going without him, then Haaland to Solanke will be the move. So Chris Wood will stay much longer to the happiness of this pod and its viewers. And so it'll be Haaland to Solanke. And then the option is, do I use that money and spend it? So I could use that money and take a hit for Gehi to Porro. I could use that money and take a hit for Taylor to Trent Alexander-Arnold if I really feel that Haaland is going out for a while. So that option I've left open for the moment, but Solanke is coming in regardless, whether it is for Chris Wood or for Haaland, and a hit is very likely as well for a defender.
Just want to add on the Brighton, on the Arsenal defender situation, them facing Brighton at home. I think one thing that might be a factor this week is that Arsenal played a second string team. Only Gabriel and Saliba played. They played on the Tuesday night when they're playing Brighton again on Sunday, whereas Brighton have to play their first choice team, whatever that may be, in a clinch European tie tomorrow night. So in terms of
Greece, isn't it? Where are they playing?
Yes, Athens.
Yeah. So that's like a long trip. So I agree with you.
So that might be case in terms of whether you're confused about benching or playing your Arsenal defenders just because of the matchup and the tie-up. Like Arsenal have a much longer rest period and have their first team essentially sitting and resting. So
Just
that might
feels like an idiot playing Saliba instead of Porro every week. I mean,
Yeah.
even if he gets a clean sheet, he gets me 6, but Porro gets you excitement. Basically, it's priceless getting
I get
Porro.
it.
So I know it's not optimal, but I'm still
Yeah.
thinking probably Porro will come in. Not for Saliba. I'll keep Saliba for later.
Yeah, for Gehi. Palace look a bit ropey now. LR, your team?
Right, I've got Dubravka. I have to hope he plays. Otherwise, I have a transfer to make there. I've got Porro, Livramento, and Gabriel. I've got Son, Salah, Saka, and Gordon. Solanke, Haaland, and Darwin. If for some weird reason, FPL's given me 0 free transfers this week. If Haaland looks like he's going to be out, easy move to Watkins. If he doesn't look like he's going to be out, I'm going to monitor Darwin's minutes at the weekend. If Darwin doesn't start, I won't make any further moves. If he starts, then I'll contemplate Darwin to Watkins.
And you have done James to Porro, just to be clear.
No,
People get confused.
There was a glitch in the matrix. I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, the news for him being out 3 months came a little after, so that turned out good anyway.
Who's Reece James? I don't know what you're talking about.
We don't know him either.
Yeah.
I know, and I don't know who would buy him. Such an injury-prone player. Actually, Zoph is the only one who's not bought him this season. Imagine.
Yeah, stupid FPL players that deserve to be not punished. What's the word we should use? Hurt. That should be hurt.
Punish is only something your wife should do, LR. My team up next. Dubravka in goal. Porro, Tsimikas, Gabriel in defense. Salah, Son, Saka, Gordon, Palmer midfield. Haaland, Darwin up top. Haaland to Watkins, simple move, I think. And if Haaland is fit, Darwin to Watkins out.
Yeah.
No need. No thinking of a hit.
Nah.
Like
Zoph, if Haaland is fit, and if Darwin plays 10 minutes on Thursday night and Gakpo plays 90 minutes, then
I'll still get Watkins, man. Darwin is not my kind of player. I took the punt for the last 3 game weeks, and that was always the plan.
But it's United at home.
Still, I don't like what I said. So again, he could start or play 10 minutes and not start the weekend either as well. But I think it's going to be immaterial because I don't think Haaland will start anyway.
Good. If that is the case, so think about.
Yeah.
Especially if Darwin doesn't start.
Yeah. I'll probably still get Watkins, man. I don't like not owning Watkins. It wasn't fun the last few weeks.
I mean, he almost scored an own goal and we got away with it.
I mean, he did almost get an assist. David Luiz. I keep calling him David Luiz. Douglas Luiz hit the post against Man City. So he did almost, but we didn't expect many returns. But yeah, we want Watkins either this week or next week. But one correction, by the way, Brighton are home to Marseille. So it's not in a way Greek trip.
Okay.
But, and thank you for correcting. Who corrected me? Greg
Gabriel.
Frost.
Yeah, Gabriel, no. Okay, yeah, I think Frost did as well. We have a super chat that's asking game week 18, Darwin to Watkins. So that's next week. Darwin to Watkins and Toffolo to Porro for -4 or add Chucky to Gordon for -8. Rest of the attack has template. So that's game week 18, Darwin to Watkins, Toffolo to Porro. Yeah, that makes sense. I want to do the Chucky to Gordon thing.
If you're going to bench one anyway, then.
Yeah.
Because then you just bench Toffolo and then you do the Gordon move if you wanted to. So I don't think -8 is needed. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And now, if you're thinking about a midfielder in the 5.5 to 6.5 million bracket, see if you can swerve the 5.5 because you'll want Richarlison and you need to plan for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's wrap up, boys.
Right. Cheers. Thank you for being with us. Pras, have a fabulous trip with or without Wood, whatever you decide. And you are probably not going to see much of Pras and I in the next 2-3 weeks. We'll have some guests on. Zoph is going to continue keep the show going. And make sure you hit like and subscribe. Surprise us by a sudden spike in the numbers so that we are able to hit our 30,000 goal by the end of the year. And any last words, boys?
Nothing much, guys. See you again next week.
Yeah, take care and thank you for your support. Look forward to, like LR said, some new subscribers and people who join our Patreon.
See you guys next week.